FAWEZA, recognized nationally and internationally as a leading voice and force for girls' education in Zambia. Founded in the early 1990s, the Forum for African Women Educationalists FAWE was inspired by a critical need to address gender disparities across sub-Saharan Africa, and Zambia was not left out.
It's the environment at the time where we as women felt a little bit left out of the spectrum, and we felt that it was time that we did something that will tip the tables and also change the environment so that women can have more voices and more spaces.
There was the Education for All conference in Beijing, and at that time there were few females who were ministers of education who attended that conference, and they realized that the girls and women would not benefit from the Education for All declaration unless there were strategies put in place to get the women out of their homes into the schools. So those 5 ladies sat together. In fact, the conversation started at the conference itself, and then they realized that, we need to form an organization that would help the girls enter school, transition through school, complete school, and be empowered through education. And so FAWE was born in 1992.
We thank God by then, the late Dr. Kabunda Kayongo and the team that established FM Foundation for FAWE Zambia.
It was the issue of girls lagging behind in terms of education participation. Access, I think, has always been okay, but the bigger hurdle was retention.
After 30 years of FAWEZA's existence in Zambia, the forum has built a legacy in promoting gender, equity and access to education, attaining parity at school enrollment, girls having better completion rates, performing well in schools, and now taking STEM courses and numerous other achievements.
I can describe the legacy that FAWEZA has powerful women's movement that has the power to shift the environment, first of all to sort of influence policy on girls' education, and also champion gender equality in the education management spaces, which were mostly dominated by men at that time. So the power of the fact that it was a mass movement involving mostly women educationalists gave them the authority to make the changes right across the education spectrum, from the classroom to the class surroundings up to the families, with the impact they had with families there.
We saw more girls also participating in the education sector, and also the re-entry policy, which was influenced by FAWEZA and other civil society organizations. So most of these girls, the girls who dropped out of school, reclaim their positions in school, and the teen mothers being enrolled back into school, and this had a positive impact for a girl child.
Before any other institution or organization came into being, FAWEZA was the only name that was associated with the promotion and advancement of girls' participation in education. And since then, women in Zambia, some of them have become prominent individuals that would have lost, along the way in terms of becoming productive citizens, are beneficiaries of FAWEZA through our various interventions.
The legacy is giving the girls a voice. The girls were very hidden, I must say. They were very hidden, both in their homes and in the schools. So I think the biggest legacy really for FAWEZA is getting the girls out of the shells and making them understand that excellence knows no gender.
The community participation which FAWEZA engaged saw a lot of positive things happening at community level, and engaging the community to appreciate the importance of education for a girl child, not only a girl child, but even a boy child, because we didn't want a boy child left behind.
FAWEZA's achievements have had a significant impact on learners, the community, and the education sector in Zambia.
Actually, FAWEZA has contributed a lot, and that contribution actually comes with adequate networking with other like-minded organizations. So our main stakeholder or partner is actually the Ministry of Education. Yes. And then out there we have, a lot of organizations which are interested in the advancement of girl child in education as well as women. So we have survived because of those partners.
Where we used to see boys performing better than girls, now the talk, even at household level, is that girls are doing better, in many cases better than boys, especially at secondary school level. We can't appreciate that more than the role that FAWEZA played in making that change happen.
From a background of challenges, many that benefited from FAWEZA programs are now firmly contributing to the economy of Zambia.
I was adopted in 2006. I was one of the few privileged male students from even Horn College to have been picked and be sponsored by FAWEZA, and my journey began from there up until now. And as things stand, I'm currently sitting on the National Selection Committee, so for me that's still a benefit.
I was sponsored by FAWEZA at the University of Zambia. That was from 2011 to 2015. There I pursued a degree in environmental education. And the challenges that I had faced before I was offered a sponsorship by FAWEZA is that I didn't have anyone to lean on, and I had no hope. By then I was living with my grandmother, who was an old woman, and were depending on gardening for survival. So looking at the university fees, it was too much for her to bear.
During my school days, that's when I came up close with the school teacher, Madam, the one who was in front with the FAWEZA organizing. Okay. That's how I came up with FAWEZA sponsorship.
The challenges I had at the time, I was accepted at Evelyn Horn, but my uncle that had sponsored me in secondary school had just passed on. So I had my acceptance letter and there was no one to pay for my school fees. That is how I came to FAWEZA, and FAWEZA took me on.
FAWEZA's support inspired the education journey for many and played a key role in shaping their personal growth and contribution to communities.
I never knew anything about social skills. I never knew anything about just skills for me to survive. The facilitation skills, I think they groomed me, they've made me what I am. If I'm any better today, I think, and I'm convinced they are responsible for the same.
When I came through to FAWEZA, I met others and would encourage each other. I also learned mentorship skills, because FAWEZA would get us when we were at tertiary and they'd say, let's go to a primary school, and you'd be given a chance to talk, and you'd look at yourself in the mirror and say, me? I'm encouraging someone? And that would give me strength to say, okay, I'm becoming somebody that would give hope to others.
Peneze grade 10, sinaluziwa verenga, sinaluziwa lemba, but through FAWEZA napeza ko tandizo yakuti napunzirako nazwako volemba.
I've been shaped today. Everyone that looks at me, when they look back at that little girl from Karikidiki, I'm not the same anymore, and they are wondering what happened to her. I see a lot of my friends who dropped out of school, and they're looking at me, what happened to you? But they shaped me in a certain way that I'm able to handle anything. Bring it on.
Celebrating 30 years comprise a milestone achieved, but FAWE must also look into the years ahead to shape its future in Zambia.
FAWEZA is implementing a 5-year strategic plan, which we started in 2024. It is running all the way up to 2028 in December. So we have four key pillars. The first one is access to inclusive education. This pillar, this is where we are giving a multi-level scholarship, or bursaries if you like. Multi-level in the sense that we are providing scholarships to young people as low as primary education, in terms of buying them uniforms, books, and a few other things which are not covered in the free education policy. We also have a scholarship at secondary school level where we pay for boarding fees and other school requirements. But most interestingly, we have a robust scholarship program at tertiary level, where we are supporting some participants at TVET and the others at tertiary education. The second pillar is policy influence. FAWEZA is involved in establishing policies, new policies. FAWEZA also is involved in reviewing existing policies to ensure that they meet the gender requirements. FAWEZA also is involved in reviewing pieces of legislation, but beyond involvement in enactment and also policy establishment, we ensure that we are involved also in implementation. Because having these policies is one thing, but implementation is another. So we ensure that the communities that we serve, we simplify these policies and legislation so that they understand them, so that these rights that are enshrined in these important documents are understood and they claim them. We also talk to duty bearers in terms of policy implementation, because we have quite a number of duty bearers who know about these policies, for example, the re-entry policy, but maybe they have not even seen it. So implementation is also a problem. The other pillar that we have is demonstrative interventions. We pilot on a small scale as far as funds can allow us to showcase what we believe that can work. So here we're talking about FAWE models. For example, the Students' Alliance for Equity, the Safe Clubs, that is both for in-school and out-of-school youths. We are talking about, community action groups. These are groups of men and women, who help us to ensure that they talk to the girls, they talk to the parents about the importance of education, and also to offer, psychosocial support that might be required by these young people. And then finally, we have also what I would say capacity building. Capacity building, this is where we ensure that people who run FAWEZA as members and also staff, that they have the required skills to ensure that FAWEZA is operating efficiently and effectively. And also I wanted to mention that in the next 5 years or so, we want to ensure that vulnerable girls, marginalized girls, who did aspire to do STEM, but they are unable to due to various circumstances, like maybe lack of funds to do that, or maybe lack of qualifications. We are giving a second chance, to those girls to do STEM in TVET institutions and also in universities. And I think that in the next 5 years or so, we want to focus on this and ensure that these girls, they achieve their dreams, they realize their dreams.
Through supportive partnerships with the government of the Republic of Zambia, through the Ministry of Education, development partners, civil society, FAWEZA has influenced education reforms, strengthened institutional capacity, and ensured that gender equality remains central to education planning and delivery.
To the government, they should continue to look up to FAWEZA as a strategic partner. Of course, there's already an MOU which was signed between the Ministry of Education and FAWEZA. Like they did in my case, I was seconded to FAWEZA. If the donor basket becomes really hard to come by, I think the government can continue actually to support FAWEZA in terms of its manpower through seconding staff, or if there are any other activities where they have some strategic funding to support the human resource, they need to continue, they should do that, because with the donor baskets becoming, dwindling, I can foresee that could be the challenge that FAWEZA would would have in terms of retaining its most valuable staff to help implement the activities as it happened some time back. So to mitigate that challenge, FAWEZA was able to support the organization through seconding people like myself, and also allowing its resource, the teachers, the education officials at senior level, at all levels, to implement the interventions that FAWEZA is taking to their provinces and ensure that these are monitored, because implementing something is one thing, but if the standard officers do not support FAWEZA in terms of ensuring that those interventions are monitored and well implemented, then FAWEZA would not, its impact would not really be felt.
Policies were put in place. The re-entry policy was developed with the participation of FAWEZA and other civil society organizations and partners, and this has given an opportunity to most of the girl child to reclaim their positions in schools. And not only that, most of the policies were reformed. After FAWEZA carried out their own research and found that certain policies were not responsive to a girl child education. So the ministry was engaged, and eventually they even entered into a memorandum of understanding with the ministry to ensure that they worked closely with the ministry in reforming most of the policies, not only in the Ministry of Education, but other ministries where gender disparities were noticed in the policies.
The policies are there. Government has put in place policies. For instance, now there's a policy against child marriage, there's a policy, but they need to be effected, they need to be implemented. Let us have people who are gatekeepers, who are now going to say, in our community, we are not going to allow child marriage. I know in some communities, for instance, in Chief Chamuka's, he's been an advocate of girls' education, and he's supporting the ending of child marriage. I used to chair the SADC committee on ending child marriage, and he was one of the chiefs, together with another chief in Malawi who died recently, the lady chief, and another chief in Zimbabwe. They are very strong advocates, and those are voices that you need to hear, because they are authoritative voices. But then their voices are within their chiefdoms. We need to have more chiefs, joining this struggle or the campaign to end child marriage, because with that comes the empowerment of girls. And when a girl has a child and they go back to school, you know that this child is going to have a good future.
Yes, we have sufficient policies, we have sufficient laws, but we still have some deficiencies. I think we should not relax. For example, one of the issues that FAWEZA really is concerned about is the implementation of the re-entry policy guidelines. We have guidelines quite okay, but guidelines, people choose to either implement them or not. We have certain institutions where they do not want to readmit the girls who got pregnant, and nothing can be done about them. There has been an attempt in the Education Act to ensure that those who refuse, that they are criminalized. But the law is not sufficient, because it gives a condition that the Honorable Minister will have to give a statutory instrument. But that statutory instrument has never been given. So meaning that as long as there is absence of the statutory instrument, then it simply means that that law cannot be enforced. So it's really a request that our parliamentarians, they look at that law.
FAWEZA's legacy is not only in numbers reached, but in systems changed. the policies reformed, the people whose lives have been transformed through education and permanently altered.
I recall the euphoria and the excitement when we were launching FAWEZA, and I still remember the jingle and how everybody was excited about the coming of FAWEZA. So congratulations on these 30 years of brilliant work that you have done and your contribution towards improving girls' education and young women empowerment. Congratulations once more.
I wish FAWEZA a happy 30th anniversary celebration, looking forward to many more years of FAWE chapter to be more responsive, to be above board, and ensure that they are the mother to this nation.
30 years of transforming girls and young women's lives in Zambia. Well done, congratulations, and keep the ball rolling. The sky is no longer the limit for FAWEZA. Well done.
Please join us in celebrating our 30 years of existence in Zambia.
It's a celebration that is worth every penny because first of all, the survival itself is something to celebrate because there are many organizations that come up within a short time, they fizzle out. But FAWEZA has been consistent with its mandate.
It has been 30 years of transforming lives for the girls, 30 years of service, 30 years of promoting gender equality and equity, 30 years of being a beacon of an organization that is working hard for the girls.
No amount of words will describe how thankful I am. And to you, everyone, I say, happy 30th anniversary to FAWEZA.
For FAWEZA, I will say thank you for your support. May you continue.
30 years isn't just a number. It shows a milestone, the works that you have done. Happy 30 years, FAWEZA.
Congratulations and all the best, and God bless you. We are here to support all the way through.
And here at the University of Zambia, we've seen that girls are very free, very confident, and I think this is what we've been preaching. They have to believe in themselves.
Indeed, FAWEZA can still do work with the communities, taking advantage of the CDF, Constituent Development Fund, that government has established. They have grants there. FAWEZA can partner with the communities in areas where a girl child still finds it very, very difficult to get to school. They can establish boarding houses, which they can manage, and using the CDF fund.
The environment is conducive. We have the re-entry policy. Regardless of what they have gone through, they can still go back to school. We have the free education policy. They should not worry about the cost. Let them go back to school. Without an education, their life will remain the same. Like the president says, education is an equalizer. This time, if you want to be a civic leader, unless you have passed grade 12, so even doing business, you need knowledge. So I really appeal to the girls that this is their time. Let them stand up and go to school. And also those who dream of doing, STEM courses, that FAWEZA is available. Visit our Facebook page. Let's engage.
At 30 years, FAWEZA stands as proof that sustained advocacy, community action and strategic partnerships can transform education systems and with them, nations.
That is what gives me happiness. When I meet these girls, they're now women, and some of them would come to me and say, do you remember me? I used to be on the FAWEZA scholarship. I was a student in Luansha. I am now a nurse. I think that is the impact that we were looking for, to change people's lives, and we did.